Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our West Placer Development Update 2024, our annual update on development and construction. Tonight, we are going to provide an update on planned construction and development in West Placer County. I will be joined shortly by Supervisor Shanti Landon and our guests from Placer One and Sacramento State. We are recording the webinar and it will be available for viewing on the county website by the end of the week. placer.ca.gov/WP Development 2024. I'm Placer County Supervisor Bonnie Gore, and I represent the Dry Creek area, south of Baseline Road, and the heart of Roseville, between Fitiment Road and Roseville Parkway. Here is the agenda for the evening. Joining me will be Supervisor Shanti Landon, who represents our neighbors west of Fitiment and Roseville, and north of the city, where Placer One and the new Sacramento State Placer Center will be located. We will hear about approved development projects in West Placer County that have not yet broken ground. And this is the property outside the Roseville city limits to the north, west, and south. We'll get a brief update about transportation, including improvements to Baseline Road. Placer County Sheriff's Office will be giving a brief update on the future of public safety in our area as it continues to develop. We will then hear from Placer County Water Agency about the current status of our water and how we ensure we have enough water for future development. And finally, we will hear about what to expect north of the city in the Placer One development and take a look at the planned Sacramento State Placer Center. If you have any questions, you may enter them into the Q&A box, and we will try to answer as many questions as possible. If we aren't able to get to your questions during the presentation, we'll get your contact information and follow up with an answer. At the end of the presentation, we will have the contact information for all of our presenters, so you can contact them directly with any of your questions. And if you don't know who to contact with your question, you are always welcome to reach out to Supervisor Landon or me, and we can connect you with the appropriate person. And one note about public comment. We won't be having public comment section of the meeting this evening. Goodness, with the number of residents who have joined us, close to 500 of you, if we gave everyone 3 minutes, we'd be here for several days. So I certainly appreciate the interest, and as always, you can reach out to me personally on any topic. So this is our fourth meeting about development and construction. In 2021, we provided an outlook on what our community will look like with planned projects, as well as the expansion of Highway 65 and the construction of Placer Parkway between Highways 65 and 99. In October 2021, we focused solely on water with Placer County Water Agency and the City of Roseville. In 2022, we hosted Crops and Cul-de-sacs, discussing the agriculture, urban interface in West Placer. And finally, for the past few months, we've been meeting with local community and neighborhood groups about the issue of homelessness. So if you haven't already watched any of those presentations, links are available on my county website, placer.ca.gov/Bonnie Gore. Our presentation does not have any information about developments taking place within the city of Roseville. For information on that, you can visit roseville.ca.us/development decoded, or scan the QR code on your screen now, and that'll give you a better understanding of what the city is doing with development. We will also not be discussing the RENA rezone program currently taking place in the county. If you would like to provide your input to either Supervisor Landon or me, you are welcome to email us. Or if you have direct questions, you can contact Senior Planner Kelly Kenninger Cecil via email, and her email is on the screen. Now I'd like to introduce Supervisor Shanti Landon, who is going to discuss the Placer County Conservation Plan.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to some efforts that the county has on the side of conservation, because we're going to be talking a lot about growth tonight. And we also want to share some of the great things that we are doing on the side of preserving open space in Placer County. The Placer County Conservation Program was approved back in 2020, and we are in the process of implementing it right now. It's a 50-year program that will eventually preserve and protect more than 47,000 acres in the unincorporated area of the county. Out north in those dark green areas, you can see north of Lincoln and Auburn, and then to the west, out on the west side of Lincoln. And this program really provides a framework where we can protect and enhance and restore our natural resources. It provides an opportunity for when developers do development within the unincorporated areas and the city of Lincoln, they can mitigate for those effects throughout Placer County instead of going elsewhere to mitigate for those effects. And in the end, we will see beautiful open space, agriculture, species protection, as well as wetland preservation. And the great thing about this program is that it really provides contiguous open space as opposed to a patchwork kind of effort to conserve in our county. So we're really excited that this program is going, and we're looking forward to seeing how things land in the future and excited to see what we can preserve. So with that, I'll pass it back off to you, Supervisor Gore.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Landon. And I just appreciate your update, just demonstrating that we are working really hard to make sure we preserve open space and land in our community. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what we are referring to when we're talking about West Placer. As some of you may know, Placer County stretches from Sacramento County all the way up to Lake Tahoe. And this is a map of the county. And West Placer is the area of Roseville, the area west of Rockland, south of the city of Lincoln, out to the Sacramento and Sutter County lines. And our next slide is a close-up of the area. And the portion outlined in blue is the city of Roseville. And to the west of that is unincorporated Placer County. As many of you are newer to the area, you may not be aware of all the planning that has taken place over the past 15 plus years as both the county and the city have planned for future development. So in the county, we've got Placer Ranch, also known as Placer One, and that's the lavender colored area that was approved by the Board of Supervisors in 2019. Regional University, the area in blue on the left of your screen, was approved by the board in 2008. Placer Vineyard's specific plan, south of Baseline Road, the dark pink area, was approved by the board in 2007. Riolo Vineyard's specific plan, just east of Placer Vineyards, was approved by the board in 2009, and that is mostly built out, which is why it's not in color. So yes, it is a lot of development, but the county has worked hard to balance these specific plans to include housing, businesses, commercial areas, parks, and other public amenities. These projects take years to plan before they are approved, anywhere from 5 to 10 plus years. There were numerous public meetings and input garnered from the community about these specific plans before they were approved. Except for Placer Ranch, Placer One, these plans were approved more than a decade ago, prior to when Supervisor Landon or I served on the Board of Supervisors. And now we are seeing a lot of construction out in these areas. Economic conditions drive the development process. And as you are aware, there is a lot more need for housing. This map shows both the county and city, but again, if you want to learn about what is happening within the city, you can visit the City of Roseville's website, roseville.ca.us/development decoded. Let's begin with the approved development in West Placer County. And presenting is our Placer County Planning Director, Chris Pahuli. Chris is an accomplished community development leader with over 25 years of experience in the public sector. He worked for 15 years at the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency, ultimately serving as their Assistant Director of Community Development, where he navigated a diverse array of planning and community-based initiatives and complex redevelopment projects. For 9 years, he served as a principal planner with Sacramento County, where he led the current planning section. Since assuming the role of Planning Director for Placer County in January of 2023, Mr. Pahuli has been guiding a division responsible for all long-range and current planning functions, as well as code enforcement. In this capacity, he leads strategic planning initiatives, fosters collaborative teamwork among staff members, and ensures compliance with regulatory requirements. All right, Chris, take it away.
All right, well, thank you, Supervisor Gore, for the kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be here this evening to provide an update to residents on development activities in West Placer and information on what can be expected in terms of new construction, as well as crucial planning decisions slated for this year. As today's meeting features representatives to provide an update on the Placer 1 development and Sac State Placer Center campus, for my segment, I'll focus on discussing development projects and planning initiatives outside of the Placer 1 specific plan area. So I'll begin by offering some context regarding the progress of our planned development. As shown on this slide, our county plans include the construction of over 32,000 new homes and more than 30 million square feet of commercial space, with the goal of accommodating approximately 31,000 jobs over the next couple of decades. In the past few years, we've seen the initiation of significant development projects, including backbone infrastructure, the issuance of major building permits, and we anticipate this trend to persist. For the past 2 years, we've tracked the issuance of approximately 700 to 800 single-family building permits. And with the intensification of development activities in the specific plans mentioned earlier, staff is anticipating this number to increase. So one notable area where development is underway is Placer Vineyards. Although the specific plan for this area was approved in 2007, significant development has only recently begun to materialize. If we can head to the next slide, please. In 2017, a first phase of development was approved for over 5,000 units and 400,000 square feet of commercial development. Those are the areas highlighted on this slide. And as I'll discuss shortly, construction is progressing from east to west on this map. In addition to the first phase, the county is presently reviewing subdivision maps for 2 other properties, which combined include approximately 700 residential units. So decisions regarding those maps are anticipated later this year, and it is possible that property 2, which is proposed by Woodside Homes, may begin rough grading this summer. Property 2 is located just south of 1A, property 1A on this map. Speaking of property 1A in Placer Vineyards, Lennar's Heritage subdivision is well underway. This would be the next slide on the deck. This age-restricted development is approved for over 1,200 homes and is presently over 30% built. And we're expecting construction in the subdivision to continue at a steady clip as they progress through their village development. It's important to note that the subdivision does include a 168 unit affordable housing rental project called Placer Creek, and the developer of that project, St. Anton Communities, is working to process design plans through the county and achieve financing for that project, which is all expected to happen this year. Just east of this plan area is the approved Baseline Retail and Commercial project at the southeast corner of Walerga and Baseline Roads. This project includes multiple retail pads, including a gas station, and is approved for over 31,000 square feet. Improvement plans are currently being reviewed by county staff, and residents should expect to see site work beginning later this year. While I'm in this geographic area, I wanted to note that last month, the Board of Supervisors approved the Country Acre Solar Project, which is on the next slide. That project is a 344 megawatt solar facility located on 1,300 acres north of Baseline Road and west of the city of Roseville's boundary. The project, which is expected to have a 35-year lifespan, includes solar panels, a battery storage facility, and includes a substation and interconnection lines. Residents should expect to see rough grading activity for this project before the end of the year, and construction of the solar panels perhaps later this year or early next. So tracking south of Placer Vineyard's specific plan is the Riolo Vineyard specific plan, which Supervisor Gore mentioned earlier in the presentation. And that specific plan is about 50% complete. Last year, the board approved the 116-unit Friswold subdivision in the eastern portion of the specific plan at PFE Road, just east of Watt Avenue. New home construction by KB Homes, D.R. Horton, and Richmond American continues within the Mason Trails subdivision, and staff is expecting to see rough grading begin this year with the Silver Sage and Friswold subdivisions. While I'm on this slide, there are a couple of additional points worth noting in this immediate area, although it's outside of the Riolo Vineyard specific plan. At the northwest corner of PFE and Willerga, we currently do not have plans for commercial development. It's shown in pink on this map. However, staff have been fielding inquiries related to development of multifamily housing on the site, and we are expecting an application to be filed consistent with those inquiries. Also, outside of the specific plan on the corner of southeast corner of PFE and Willerga, Tim Lewis Communities has recently begun construction on the 80-unit Morgan Place subdivision. Site improvements are nearly complete now, and acceptance of site improvements are expected late spring, and you'll start to see vertical home construction soon on that property. So I'm now going to focus on a few major developments outside of the specific plans in the Dry Creek community plan area. The first is the Creekview Ranch subdivision located off of PFE Road, east of Cook Riolo and north and south of Antelope Road. This roughly 600-unit subdivision was approved by the board last year and includes multiple villages with different housing products, including lower density detached single-family homes and medium density alley-loaded homes. Taylor Morrison is the home builder that will be carrying out the Creekview Ranch subdivision. And residents should expect to see some rough grading and backbone infrastructure, including a sewer lift station, to begin this year. There's also improvements that are planned for PFE Road for this subdivision, and it's likely that that will impact circulation and may require a temporary bypass. So again, construction beginning on this project this year is anticipated. Just north of the approved Creekview Ranch subdivision is the proposed Ranch subdivision, which is planned for over 400 homes on roughly 200 acres. This proposed subdivision is currently being evaluated by county staff, and the environmental impact report is being drafted. Residents should expect some key planning decisions on this project to occur this year. Heading back down near PFE and Antelope Roads is the proposed Mill Creek subdivision. The reapplication for this proposed 321-unit subdivision on 65 acres was submitted in December of last year. Residents can expect planning review of the subdivision to occur later this year, again, towards the end of the year. So to wrap up my segment of this presentation, I wanted to highlight that the county is currently undertaking a comprehensive update to the Placer County General Plan, which was last revised in 1994. This update process will take several years to complete, and currently we're in the process of crafting a community engagement program, which will be presented to the board in late April. We've established a dedicated website for this initiative, and I'd like to encourage residents to sign up for regular updates. The email sign up is on this slide and is also prominently displayed on our website. So that concludes my update today. Again, I'd like to thank Supervisors Gore and Landon for inviting me to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate your update. And if you would like to see what construction is currently taking place, if you have a concern or a complaint about things like noise or dust, You can visit placer.ca.gov/current construction, where you will find the contact information for each project and check its timeline for completion. All right, next, to discuss with us the transportation updates for West Placer, I'd like to introduce Rich Moorhead with Placer County Public Works. Rich is the Deputy Director with the Department of Public Works that oversees the Long Range Transportation Planning Division and the Design Engineering Division for Placer County. The Placer County Design Engineering Division will be delivering the Baseline and Riego Road Signals project. Rich has been with the county since 2000 and participated in the review of all of the land development projects in the region, coordinating with our regional partners to ensure the future transportation system meets the demand, and he's also represented the county during the development of Placer Parkway. I will hand it off to you, Rich.
Thank you so much. Good evening. I'm happy to be here with you this evening to share a couple of regional transportation facilities. One of them is an existing roadway, and it's Baseline Road. I think everybody's probably familiar with that one. It goes from the city of Roseville out to Highway 99 through Sutter County. And then there's Placer Parkway, which is represented in the center of the screen here. And it'll connect Highway 65 over to 99 as well, parallel facility to Interstate 80. And I just wanted to show this map to give some kind of regional context. Up at the top, it's the city of Lincoln. And then the bigger mass kind of in the center there is Roseville. And then to the right of that is Rockland. Down to the base of it or the bottom is Sacramento County. And off to the left is Sutter County. So just to give some context to where these facilities fit within inside the county. Next slide, please. For Baseline Road, we know it's certainly a critically important east-west arterial connector roadway that connects jobs in the region to residential areas. There's both job centers in the city of Roseville as well as downtown Sac, connects over to the Sacramento airport as well. It is proposed to be a 6-lane facility ultimately. We are currently working towards a 4-lane at first, and then it will expand to 6. And it'll support development in the region. And then this is funded by traffic impact fees and developer frontages, how the roadway will be constructed. But just for some of the stuff that's going on this next coming year or two, inside the city of Roseville, we coordinate closely with our partners in the region where our boundaries abut, and certainly this is one of the spaces. So inside the city of Roseville, they had some work going on Baseline Road, and it's where that Sierra Vista sits in the screen here. They've got a couple more months to complete that up, and the last remaining piece that will be inside the city itself is the piece that's west of Fitiment and Willerga Road. They anticipate that starting construction this year and will be completed in 2025. So the segments throughout the city, which runs to about a mile west of Watt Avenue, should be completed by the end of 2025. We don't anticipate any kind of widening like that on Baseline Road in the county itself. But you'll see similar types of improvements occur over the next several years, and that'll occur as Placer Vineyards continues to develop out. The one project we do have that the county is working on and it's the lead of is the area you see there circled to the left of the screen. And that's the Signals project that we're moving forward with. And that's jointly being done between Sutter County, City of Roseville, and Placer County, where Placer County is the lead. And for that project, there are currently 4 stop controlled intersections. There's the one at Natomas, Pleasant Grove North, and Pleasant Grove South, and Locust. Those stop signs will be removed, and then signalization will occur at 3 of those locations, the Pleasant Grove North, Pleasant Grove South, and Locust. And then Natomas, the sign itself will just be removed. And next slide, please. So these are the improvements that you'll see out there. We are currently in the right-of-way phase of this project. And again, it is jointly funded by the 3 jurisdictions. So we'll have signalization, wider shoulders, dedicated left turn pockets. And we do need to we're in the right-of-way acquisition phase currently. We need some additional right-of-way for some of the widening that's going to occur, as well as some utility relocations. If you look out there, you'll see some overhead utility lines, and we need places for those to go to move forward with this project. Again, we're currently in the right-of-way phase, final design, and it'll be funding dependent, but construction could begin as early as the fall of this year or the spring of 2025. And we're hopeful those can move forward. Just to give some perspective, the stop sign at Locust currently, they kind of meter all the ones through. So I just looked at Locust from some studies we had done. There's currently over about 1.5 minutes of delay at that one. When the signal goes in, it drops under 20 seconds of delay, overall delay at the intersection. So we're hopeful to be able to move forward with these to help relieve some of the congestion in the area. Next slide, please. The next project to talk about is more the planned project, and we are moving forward with a segment of this. We'll show you more on the next slide, but it's Placer Parkway. And just to give some perspective here again, it ties in at Highway 65 at Whitney Ranch Interchange, the current interchange there, and extends over to Highway 99 at Sankey Road. So it goes between Placer and Sutter County. This study was actually started in 1999. So the route adoption study was done then. There was an older route before that that really didn't serve the needs anymore, but the idea was to have a parallel facility. PCTPA took the lead after that, Placer County Transportation Planning Agency, and moved forward with the higher level studied 5 different corridors through this region. And the final route adoption occurred in 2009 with those. Again, it's a parallel facility to Interstate 80. This is also funded by traffic fees, and it's through the South Placer Regional Transportation Authority, which is there's Placer County, City of Roseville, City of Rockland, and City of Lincoln are all collecting fees in their new growth areas towards this critically important project. And next slide, please. So what we're moving forward now is phase 1 of Placer Parkway, and it'll complete out the Whitney Ranch interchange. And if you see the bottom right corner there, the existing condition, it's that partial interchange that sits out there today. And then we will expand on that. And that's what that center image shows there, is the full interchange done. And it'll be similar to what you see at Sunset Boulevard. It's kind of that scale and size of interchange that's going in there. And then it'll extend to the west with a new bridge over the railroad tracks and Industrial Boulevard, and then touches down at Foothills Boulevard. So it's about 1.4 miles. We're in right-of-way phase on this as well. And if we can secure the right-of-way, hopefully we can bid it by the end of this year. But if not, certainly 2025, and we should be under construction in 2025. It should take about 2 years to complete. The total project cost on this is $82 million. That's for the design, construction oversight. And although we haven't collected all of the money into the fee program, the United Auburn Indian Community, as well as Placer County, have gotten together and are going to loan the money to this and then be paid back out of traffic fees. So we all know it's a critically important piece of infrastructure. So we've moved forward with that to be able to accelerate this project and get it done before the time would normally occur for us to collect the amount of money that would be needed to construct this project. And that's the end of my presentation. And again, if you have any questions at all, my contact is at the end of this webinar, and happy to respond. Or if I don't know the answer, I can get you in touch with someone that does.
Great. Thank you so much, Rich. Really appreciate that. As you can see, it takes a lot of time and money to build these transportation projects, but I really appreciate all of your hard work. Now I'd like to introduce from the Placer County Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Josh Tyndall, for an update on public safety in West Placer. Josh is the station commander at the South Placer substation, which is in Loomis. He's had 27 years with the Placer County Sheriff's Office, and 18 of those years he has been either a deputy, a sergeant, or a lieutenant. So Lieutenant Tyndall, take it away.
Good evening. On behalf of Sheriff Wu, thank you for the invitation and for having us here, Supervisor Gore and the rest of the panel. Please proceed with the next slide. Again, so we just want to give an update on how we're preparing for the future with the potential growth out in West Roseville. Next slide, please. One more, please. Perfect, thank you. So just to give you an overview of the South Placer substation, often referred to as SPS. We have 60 full-time team members allocated out of SPS, 54 are sworn staff, 6 professional staff, and we average anywhere from, post-COVID, 10 to 22 active volunteers right now. We have 3 patrol shifts. We have a day shift, a swing shift, and a mid shift. We have 5 beats out of this station here. often it's called Zone 1, or we call it the lower half of the county. Zone 1 is anywhere from Auburn all the way to the county line working southwest. Our Auburn office staffs or patrols from the Auburn area to the summit, and then from the summit to the county, to the state line, up in Lake Tahoe. That's out of our Lake Tahoe station. Down here at SPS, we serve 10 primary communities, includes Dry Creek, West Roseville, rural Lincoln, Sheridan, Ophir, Newcastle, Pender, and Granite Bay, the town of Loomis, which is a contract town for us, and the Lavoti track. Past 5 years, we average anywhere between just under 20,000 calls for service. And we also, out of this office, oversee the Dry Creek Service Center. So in comparison to our 60 plus, give or take, staff out of SPS here, even though it's a substation, in comparison to some of our partners, the Auburn Police Department has approximately 40 team members. The Lincoln Police Department, 42. Rockland Police Department, we're about 2/3 the size of them out of this station alone, with 96. The Roseville Police Department has up to 224, give or take, total staff. SPS, in comparison to our Auburn Newcastle office, they have 52 sworn professional staff, and then the Golden Run CHP office, 26 sworn and professional staff compared to our 60 out of SPS here. So even though it's a substation, it's a fully functioning mini little police station or sheriff's office station here. So our SPS sworn allocations, just the sworn staff alone, we have 6 patrol sergeants, 33 allocated patrol deputies. 4 of them have been funded with the assistance of the United Auburn Indian Community. 1 traffic deputy that's funded by the town of Loomis, a contract town again. We have 3 detective allocations out of the South Placer substation here. We have 1 administrative sergeant to help me out with all the day-to-day ongoings. 1 school resource officer sergeant and 9 school resource allocations. So how is the sheriff's office preparing for the future? Sheriff Wu has an ambitious agenda. It's kind of a 4-prong attack is how I would personally characterize it myself. Basically facilities, staffing, equipment, and our partnership. So as far as the facilities goes, right now we're actively pursuing a footprint to get a station footprint out in the West Roseville area. The sheriff recognizes the need to bring the services to the community out there. So what does that footprint look like? It will be, I call it myself an SPS 2.0 because it's going to be exactly everything that our main office has to offer up in Auburn, has everything that the sheriff's office down here at SPS can offer. And we envision it offering even more so. So gradually that will happen over time. So the footprint we're looking for right now will accommodate just a skeleton crew. And as things start to grow and progress over the next 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, we will start bringing more services as our goal, more services that mirror Auburn down to South Placer, such as evidence technicians, records, dispatch centers, possibly administrative legal clerk services. Anything that the Auburn office has to offer is going to be our ultimate goal to have down here. So that footprint will be a temporary one. And I say temporary, 3, 5, 8, possibly even up to 10 years that we will be looking to have that building once we lock that down until a permanent footprint can be established. And right now that tentative footprint is in the Santucci Justice Center. The other part is, like I mentioned, staffing. Obviously, we're a service-based organization, industry, business, however you want to characterize it. So right now, it's a little difficult to recruit for those wanting to get into this profession, but the sheriff's office is looking at innovative recruitment tools. One we are doing right now is we've contracted with a private business that is surgically through social media, through information technology type of tools, something above my pay grade, but we're basically working with this company to surgically solicit areas of the community. We give a radius of a footprint within our community for how far out we want our message to go out. And we're actively searching for deputy sheriffs, administrative legal clerks, correctional officers, and dispatchers. Those have been the 4 major areas that have had challenges recruiting for, but it hasn't been the Placer County Sheriff's Office alone. Again, it's been industry-wide. And I can say the Sheriff's Office as a whole, and I think it's a reflection of the community myself, having been here 27 plus years, is a reflection of the community. We are ahead of the curve. So we still see those challenges for hiring and recruiting, but we are ahead of the curve. And this is one measure that we're taking to stay ahead of that curve as well, because we want first dibs on anybody to come to the sheriff's office. Next is the enhanced enforcement traffic detail. That goes to the partnerships and kind of the equipment as well. So as far as equipment goes, the third prong, the infrastructure. So main thing we're pursuing is information technology infrastructure to make the deputy's job easier, more efficient. Things such as body-worn cameras. We're increasing our patrol fleet inventory post-2020, post-COVID. There was obviously manufacturing issues. So we're in the process of increasing our vehicle pool to get more deputies out on the street, more vehicles out into service. The partnerships I mentioned. Partnerships with other county departments so that we're all on the same page when these challenges come ahead of us. And they're all positive challenges with in my opinion, with what's coming out in West Placer. So working with the Board of Supervisors, the MAX, the Department of Public Works, the Planning Department, Probation, District Attorney's Office, PCWA, Placer One, Sac State, CAL FIRE, CHP. CHP is one of our big partners, obviously. So that's the third bullet point there. Another example is how we're trying to get ahead of the curve is just offering additional services to help support those partners that we work with, like the CHP. So we have entered into an agreement with the Department of Public Works with the support of the Board of Supervisors to do some enhanced enforcement traffic details. So basically what that entails is, even though we're the sheriff's office, we do have some that are trained and equipped to do traffic enforcement, radar, LiDAR enforcement. So we have a small group of identified sergeants and deputies that will go out as an auxiliary detail and work various areas of the county, problem areas, to go out and try and do enhanced traffic enforcement to help our partners there at the CHP. So with all these partnerships involved and these different prong attacks that we are enacting here, we continue to prepare for the future. We're excited about what the future has, and again, we think we'll be prepared for it. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Lieutenant Tyndall. We really appreciate it. And now moving on, with all the growth that's happening in Western Placer County, both in Roseville and Lincoln, we get a lot of questions from residents about whether we're going to have enough water to serve all of the newcomers that are coming to our community. So to give us this year's water update and more about how we can maintain our water supply locally, I would like to introduce Tony Ferenzi from PCWA. Tony Ferenzi is a professional engineer and director of strategic affairs at Placer County Water Agency, also known as PCWA. He received his bachelor's and master's degrees from Colorado State University, where he studied river engineering. Tony spent 5 years consulting on river restoration projects and teaching throughout the country. He joined PCWA in 2003. And has served a variety of roles in engineering and management. Tony has constructed more than $200 million in projects and has been central to water supply planning. He has been the director of strategic affairs since 2020. So with that, Tony, we welcome you.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Landon. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be presenting on this topic for PCWA today. For my presentation, I'm going to be covering water supply conditions for 2024 and how things look there. I'm then going to be providing an overview of where your water comes from now and what that looks like into the future. And finally, I'm going to wrap up with an overall outlook of how water supply conditions are going to be for the future and how are we going to serve all of this new demand into the future. So with that, next slide, please. Good. This is a photo of snowpack conditions in our watershed. This was taken on March 4th as part of our snow survey. And with that, we have the most recent outlook conditions for this year. These are early March conditions. You can see that precipitation is at 96% of normal. Snowpack is at 116%, and reservoir conditions are at 93% of normal. Sometimes I get asked, how is snowpack more than, or let's say in some cases less than precipitation? And what that essentially indicates is that it's been a little bit colder, and so as that precious water has hit the mountain slopes, more of it just stuck up as snowpack, and that's why you see snowpack being substantially higher than precipitation. These are quite robust conditions for 2024, well into normal and beyond, and totally adequate for water supply conditions this year. They're also characteristic of the water supply conditions that we're seeing up and down California this year. And that comes as a sigh of relief for statewide water managers. And I know a lot of you have heard in the media over the last decade, frankly, that those that rely on the state and federal water supply projects have been in and out of water supply shortages several times over the last decade. And so these statewide, more robust conditions come as a sigh of relief. That is not the case for PCWA. Our water supply conditions have been adequate throughout the last decade to meet all of our customers' needs, both in agriculture and in our municipal needs for water, for drinking water, and that kind of thing. And I'll explain a little bit as to why that is in the next slide. And with that, next slide, please. PCWA has three primary water supplies, and then we also have groundwater supply as backup. And so I'm going to go through each of those water supplies with you here on this map so you kind of understand where they're coming from. And I'll just take it from top to bottom. So the first is a water supply we get off of the Yuba River. It's shown there in a teal color. It comes out of storage in Lake Spalding. This is part of PG&E's Drum Spalding hydropower project that takes water from the Yuba River into Placer County through this canal that you see. And ultimately, after that water generates hydropower, some of it goes into Folsom Reservoir. But PCWA is a water customer of PG&E's off of that canal all along the way into all the communities that you see shown in teal right there. And so we have a contract for very reliable water supply out of Lake Spalding with PG&E. Next on the map, you see the American River water supply, or shown with reservoirs, French Meadows and Hellhole reservoirs. This is something that PCWA calls the Middle Fork American River project. It's a hydropower project that PCWA constructed at its origins. In fact, it's why PCWA was formed, was to create this water supply project for Placer County. So we were formed in 1957, and this water supply project was complete with construction in 1967. Today, we're able to pump out of the American River. You see that little circle with a P on it. That's the American River pump station. We pump out of there into a tunnel. And then there's another pump station that pumps it up to ground level out of the tunnel, or it discharges into Auburn Ravine. And so we're able to get it into our water system through that tunnel. Our third water supply is federal contract water, and you see it shown over on the Sacramento River. So we do have a small part of our portfolio that would come from something called the Central Valley Project. That's the federal water supply project that constructed Lake Shasta and Folsom Reservoir. And so small, like I said, a smaller part of our portfolio comes from there. And then we do have 2 groundwater wells currently, and plans for 3 additional groundwater wells with all of the growth of West Placer County. Groundwater is not a regular part of our portfolio, but a backup. And so all of these supplies, you can see that the communities are showing with little water droplets as to where they get their water from. But our water system is entirely connected, and all of these water supplies essentially come together to meet our needs. And I had said before that over the last decade, with all of these droughts, that we haven't had problems. And this is the reason. So we do have very resilient water supplies that were planned and developed well ahead of needs in Placer County. And more importantly, those water supplies are locally controlled by a board of directors at PCWA that our citizens elect, and they're responsible for making sure that we have enough water to meet the needs of growth, and that we protect these water supplies in perpetuity for the people of Placer County. So that local control of our own sort of destiny of water is a very important part of the narrative, and that's what distinguishes us so much from the rest of California. Next slide, please. So it's really a pleasure to be able to report on the resilience of our water supplies, both today and at build out. And it was because people thought way ahead back when PCWA was formed to create these local water supplies, that prosperous future of water was made a reality. And that's what PCWA is here. It's for that purpose. So people put great effort into making sure Placer County was taken care of with water. And so today, PCWA's responsibility in contemplating all of the growth that we're looking at for the future is to, number one, make sure that we continue to protect those water rights for the people of Placer County. And in the state of California, that is an ongoing effort that we're always having to work on. And then finally, and just as important, that we are managing our infrastructure. We have large infrastructure plans, both in the category of repairing and maintaining the infrastructure that we have for our current customers, and then expanding on that infrastructure so that we can take all these water supplies that we have and put them to good use for future growing economies here in Placer County. And with that concludes my presentation. Thank you again very much for the opportunity.
Great, thank you so much, Tony. For the final part of our program, I would like to introduce our speakers from Placer One and Sacramento State Placer Center. First is Anton Garcia. Anton is the Vice President of Asset Management for Taylor Builders. He engages in forward planning, entitlement, and asset management for projects that are located in Northern California, and he's responsible for Taylor Builders' ground-up entitlement projects, which require a multitude of local government, state, and federal approvals. He's also an active member of the North State Building Industry Association and engages in regional land use matters through panels and workshops and volunteering with housing nonprofits. Mr. Garcia is a native of Northern California and holds a Bachelor of Economics degree from California State University, Sacramento. And then also joining us is Tanya Nunez. Tanya is the Director of Planning, Design, and Construction at Sacramento State and has been leading the Placer Center Master Plan Coordination for 4 years. Her team is charged with overseeing all capital improvement projects for the university, and she is a Placer County resident herself, living within 1 mile of the Placer One development and is committed to its success. Anton and Tanya, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Supervisor Landon. Again, Anton Garcia with Taylor Builders. Very excited and privileged to be able to present an update on the Placer One project, a project that's been in the works for many, many years, and one that Taylor Builders acquired in 2021, and shortly after with Eli Broad Foundation, where the gift agreement to allow 300 acres to the university site that Tanya will be able to speak to here in a moment. But again, very excited to be able to provide an update to those in the region. Right here, what we've outlined is the Placer One land use plan. So again, this is a result of many, many years of the county, along with various stakeholders, to determine how to deliver a comprehensive plan that meets housing needs, but also economic needs, job creation, employment, services, and then an ability to serve the development of the university parcel in the middle. In total, you're looking at about 10 different land uses, ranging from single family residential, whether it's low density, medium density, and high density being multifamily, which we'll speak to here in a moment. Also park and recreation, which we have approximately about 70 acres of throughout the specific plan. As we continue to develop phases of the project, that number will continue to refine and increase just to meet the demands of the various phases. We also have an opportunity here to do something really special with the campus park, which is mainly on the north side of the specific plan, approximately 335 acres, that will allow R&D development, and for a lot of businesses or new businesses that want to call Placer County home, the ability to really have an engagement with the CSU site, and of course with Placer Parkway going to be going on here very soon, an ability to meet the demands for those who view transportation as a need. Additionally, we have about 72 acres of a town center, which is just to the east of the university site, outlined in red. And this is really what I look to for the future to be the heartbeat, an opportunity to have a community within their services, restaurants, mixed-use housing, and of course, right across the University Village with the university site. An excited opportunity here to be able to deliver those services for those currently in the region and for the new development as well. Next slide, please. With any development, phasing is a critical role in understanding how to deliver infrastructure. Infrastructure is the main driver in being able to activate specific plans and projects of this size. And the county, through its discussions with the development prior to us acquiring it, really came up with a really good comprehensive outline of how to deliver the infrastructure here. With phase 1A being predominantly single-family residential in the south, being able to extend those utilities given its proximity to the city of Roseville and through agreements with the city, and also going to 1B and 1C, which starts to bring in some additional housing stocks of variety types that can meet both first-time home buyers and move-up buyers. And then also in 1C would be the first active adult village, which is the 55 and over gated community, one of two within the specific plan. Again, working from the south and the east to deliver Sunset from where you see right now near Foothills all the way to Fitterman Road is currently under development, and we suspect that we'll have that portion completed by the end of this year. And this will allow for the development of those future phases that receive utility from those larger front-end improvements. Next slide, please. Currently, what we have under construction is our phase 1A. And this was a project we started grading last year. And then this year, we will start to actually develop the infrastructure for these 7 villages. With that comes the backbone, which is your larger roads, the Fittermans, the Sunsets, and the partial of Wood Creek and College Park Drive. And then from there, the in-tract improvements, which we plan to start in April. Our development, our Taylor Builders, what we engage in is transitional development, where we bring on these larger development efforts from a horizontal infrastructure standpoint, and then we work with builders, both privately and publicly held builders, to bring them as partners and then sell the lots to them. So right here, what you see is a wide variety of product types, which we identify as low lot sizes, from 4,500 square foot lot sizes to about 7,000 to 8,000 square foot lot sizes, some larger, given sometimes the corner lots or typically a little larger, but this really provides a housing stock that can meet beginner, first-time home buyers and those move-ups. And again, we look to construction of homes towards the end of this year, but more than likely the first quarter of 2025. Again, infrastructure is the main driver, and how do we continue to bring the utilities needed for these developments. And an opportunity here with the county's commitment through the American Rescue Plan Act that the federal government put out there as a result of COVID relief. The county was able to obtain quite a bit of funds to be able to distribute throughout the county for large infrastructure projects. So they identified the Sunset Area Plan as one of the main drivers, believing that it will drive economic growth. So as part of the commitment from the county, they earmarked $18 million towards sewer regional improvements that we as a developers will go and implement. Just to give you a little idea of what's going on with these 4 pictures on the top left, that is facing eastward, and that is Fitterman Road running from your left to your right. And that was a part of our last year's effort in sewer regional improvements. On the top right is a 4 million gallons per day lift station. What you see there is what's called an emergency storage. So for lift stations that everything flows to, ultimately, if for whatever reason the power went out, there'll be a generator that will continue to pump the sewer. But if for whatever reason that went out, it would go into an area where it'd be contained for several days until things were repaired. So a big improvement, one that we suspect will be completed by February 2025 ahead of any homes being fully constructed. And then on the bottom left, This is part of, again, the sewer regional improvements. These are force mains. This is within the city of Roseville for a project that we plan to have complete towards the end of this month and have fully paved roads with traffic control plans being removed and allowing traffic to move as previously had. And now on the bottom right, again, it's just similar to what you'll see in underground improvements. This is a sewer improvements. These are some of the more shallower depths. We had some sort of improvements that were about 35 to 40 foot deep. Again, a big commitment from the county to provide that funding to allow the activation of the Sunset Area Plan. For the next steps, we are looking again to have home construction start approximately early 2025 in our phase 1A, which is 7 different villages. We have a builder that will be purchasing those and then be able to start marking those towards the middle of this year. And then shortly here in the next couple months, we'll have our phase 1B, 1C tentative map that will bring on additional single family residential lots maybe on the smaller scale from a lot size to meet the demand of first-time home buyers, but also bring on the HDR sites, the high-density multifamily sites that we'll be working on with affordable housing developers, market rate developers, and then also an opportunity to work with student housing developers as the university starts to take place. And if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out to our phone number and then our website. And we routinely every day look at our email addresses to provide any feedback, whether it's construction activity, but also for those interested to know more about the project and as far as future home sales and what's going on. And about June, July of this year, we'll have a formal marketing page that will work with builders to provide their plans and their pricing, and that will be open to the public. But again, many thanks to Supervisor Landon and Gore for allowing our group to provide an update, and we look forward to many more of these in the future. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We look forward to Tanya now.
Good evening, all, and thank you, Supervisor Landon, for the earlier introduction, and Anton for your comments on Placer 1. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. As Director of Planning, Design, and Construction at Sacramento State, I've been working closely with our campus community, consultants, and partners over the last 4 years to develop a vision for Placer Center that aligns with the unique needs of Placer County. Tonight, I look forward to sharing with you our work to date, what we continue to work towards, and what lies ahead. The idea to bring Sacramento State to Placer County started over 20 years ago, and after many starts and stops, we've made significant strides over the last several years to make this a reality. Much of this effort has come with positive support from Placer County, Sierra College, the CSU Board of Trustees, Placer 1, and the Placer County community. For those that are unfamiliar with the location of Placer Center, I know it was highlighted a few times in the earlier slides, but we'll do it one more time. It's the red area you see in this slide. It's a 301 acre site within the larger 2,200 plus acre development that is Placer 1. For a little bit of context, 301 acres is roughly the size of the current Sacramento State campus in Sacramento. So for those who have ever been to our campus, it's virtually the same. The unincorporated and undeveloped land was donated to the CSU formally in 2021 with the goal of introducing a 4-year public institution of higher education in Placer County. In 2020, Sacramento State engaged with a consultant to develop a more specific master plan for the site. Although a university element was included in the Placer Ranch specific plan, we wanted to be more specific about elements that align with CSU goals and better define administrative, academic, housing, and student life spaces that are typical of a university. We also sought to incorporate key programmatic elements that could benefit the larger community, improving our engagement as an anchor institution and encouraging educational growth for the region. Concurrent to the master plan effort, we commenced an EIR to understand our environmental impacts, seeking to align with the university elements that were already identified in the Placer Ranch specific plan, and in many cases, lessening the impact. Our approved master plan seeks to support 12,000 FT or full-time equivalent students. So FTE stands for full-time equivalent, which is a student taking 15 units. So it's likely the student population will actually be higher, accounting for students that are part-time, for example. We are currently coordinating with Sierra College on support services and academic programs that serve Placer County best. Some examples include health industries like nursing, waste management, and forestry, to name a few. But I'll talk a little bit more on that later. A key master plan element is to introduce significant community-based features that can foster partnerships with public agencies and private industry to further support the development on the site. I want to review for a moment our long-range development plan, which spans 4 distinct phases. We expect the entire development to take upwards of 25 years, dependent on growth needs and funding. We consider these phases from the vantage point of time, student population, and development square footage. During phase 1, which is the next 7 years, we expect to accommodate 1,500 FTE with nearly 400,000 square feet of space. We start the heart of the campus off Sunset, which is the area south of us that's currently developing, with several buildings around a quad. Those buildings include a library for community engagement and partnership facilities with Placer County and Sierra College, as well as some infrastructure. In phase 2, up through 15 years, we grow to 5,000 FTEs and add over 700,000 square feet of space. We begin connecting across the site towards Fitiment in anticipation of a primary campus entry coming from Placer Parkway, which was discussed a little bit earlier tonight. In addition to academic, administrative, and housing space, we introduce some more community-based programming, such as a loop trail for cycling and pedestrians to connect to the larger Placer 1 development, and a health and wellness center, in addition to some intramural type fields and things of that nature. Phase 3 takes us through 25 years, where we maximize our FTE at 12,000 and add 2.3 million square feet of academic, administrative, student and faculty housing functions, in addition to community amenities like a performing arts center, a library expansion, a conference center, as well as a building to support continuing education. Phase 4 is an innovation center for the future that has the ability to add 1.5 million square feet in partnership with local industry for research and development tied to emerging academic programs. In total, we anticipate approximately 5 million square feet of development. Some of the key master plan elements are to create a compact campus core that allows for engagement with the local community by inviting them into campus through outdoor spaces and building functions, much like our current campus is today. Although we have 301 acres, we've limited our development to less than 2/3 of that site in coordination with the Placer County Conservation Authority to allow ecological resources to be respected and serve academic research. Another important component is to implement buildings that are multifunctional and flexible to better support cross-discipline and cross-institutional collaboration. Since we are here to talk about the next 5 to 7 years, I wanted to take a moment to focus on phase 1, which includes a forensic laboratory building, library, and fire station, partnering with Placer County, a mixed-use building where we partner with Sierra College, and an academic mixed-use building, as well as infrastructure development to accommodate long-term needs of the site. We expect that the Placer County Forensic Science Lab will be the first building to break ground at Placer Center. It'll be approximately 30,000 square feet, and while the final program is to be determined, the labs are intended to support the most pressing needs for investigations. This likely includes toxicology, ballistics, DNA, and fingerprint analysis, but also allow flexibility to investigate emerging trends like cybersecurity. The building will incorporate academic space for the university to serve as real-life experience for our students, giving them the best tools to enter the workforce poised for success. The building represents a great opportunity to showcase how academics and industry can collaborate together towards innovative solutions. It's worth noting that Sacramento State's criminal justice program is the largest west of the Mississippi, and we anticipate that will be able to grow significantly with this partnership, hopefully introducing new academic programs around forensic science, including advanced degrees. So what's next? We anticipate breaking ground on the first building in 2026 to be open for students in fall of 2028. Our Associate Vice President continues to work closely with faculty and staff at both Sacramento State and Sierra College to develop academic clusters that speak to the needs of our current world, and especially those of Placer County. The goal at Placer Center is to offer dual enrollment programs where a student can enter Sierra College but finish with a bachelor's degree or even further to a PhD, all while at Placer Center. This seeks to be a new model for education where institutions can share resources and students can be set up for success in their higher education pursuits. Thank you for your time, and we at Sacramento State look forward to an exciting time ahead and being an integral part of the Placer County community.
Thank you so much, Tanya. We are very excited about Sacramento State coming to Placer County, having a campus here, and 2028 can't come soon enough. But it's terrific to have you all as a partner here. So I know we have provided you with a lot of content this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. As I mentioned, the recording of this presentation will be available soon at placer.ca.gov/WP Development 2024. And we hope you will join us in the community soon. I am going to be hosting a District 1 Neighborhood Serve Day at Sabre City, which is off of PFE Road in the Dry Creek community on April 20th at 9 a.m. So if you'd like to join us, please email me at supervisorgore@placer.ca.gov. And Supervisor Landon also has an event coming up. Supervisor Landon, do you want to share with us?
Sure, and I actually just noticed it's the same day and pretty much same time as yours. So I'm doing a coffee with Roseville Mayor Bruce Howdeshelt on Saturday, April 20th from 9:30 to 11 at the club at West Park. And we hope you can join us. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email at the email address on the screen.
Wonderful. Well, thank you to all of our panelists for sharing with us this evening, and thank you to all of you for joining us. And as we close, here are the contact emails and phone numbers if you have questions about any of the projects or plans presented this evening. We will leave the screen up for the next 10 minutes to give you time to jot down any information that you would like. And once again, on behalf of Supervisor Landon and myself, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you in the community soon.